Healing of sickness is possible, whether it's emotional or physical. In communities across the world, there are self-declared healers doing just that, in ways unimaginable. Ever wondered what they do in Reiki, or Vodou, and yoga? Let's go through the different methods and practices that helps us heal and be our best and healthier selves. Let's go!
Hi, and welcome to another great episode of ABCs of Healing. And today we are going to have a very sexy conversation. Like always, today we're talking about gut health and how that relates to all areas of your life, including your sex life. And this is where our guest comes in, and I'm excited to have with us today Xu DaRocha, and she is going to talk to us about Chi Nei Tsang, right? Now, if you've never heard about it, of course, pay attention, pull up really closely, and listen to all the great information and facts she's going to share about this particular practice and healing modality. Remember, we are here to learn about the various ways we can heal ourselves and be in tune with those individuals who's there to help us through those journeys. All right. Welcome.
Thank you. For having me.
So before we get into what you do personally, tell us a little bit about how Chi Nei Tsang came about and its role in sexual health.
Sounds great. Mm-hmm. So Chi Nei Tsang is a Taoist tradition approach to somatic healing. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that when we are being pregnant in our mother's womb, our entire body grown out of the umbilical cord. So the entire body grown out of the belly button. So everything, every parts of emotions, of physical body, the root is in your abdominal area. So by release the tensions in this area, you release tensions throughout your body. And also this area is where our internal organs live and our sexual organs live. So by release tension and the traumatic experience that lodged into these areas, every areas of our life gets improved. So, and it also has a mental and spiritual aspect to this work, even though there's a physical components to it. The practitioners often practice Qigong very seriously as daily practice. Another way to think of Chi New Tsang is that it's a Qigong massage to your organs. So we usually tune into sort of like a blueprint of the person, and then you go into somebody's body, and then you balance each element, sort of like make art out of their energy and organs to balance everything. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Now, you've told us about the history of it. In your personal experience and the successes that you've had with it or for your clients, why do you think this works?
Why do I think it works?
Yeah.
I think that the depth of the work is really astonishing. You know, I've done healing work for over 10 years, and many works. But this one, because the depths that it goes to, it's not just physically release tensions. It also release traumas lodged into your body. And a lot of times it actually goes to much deeper trauma. Our mental memories doesn't even remember, you know, like and sometimes we'll actually deal with a lot of traumas that are handed down through our ancestors, yes. So it has this really deep healing effect that goes really deep.
Now, when you mention ancestors in certain cultures, like mine will say it's generational, so to speak, certain things that are passed down. And those can be covered in layers, and on top of more layers. And I remember just from, you know, me being able to experience this and having a session with you, you were like, this is not a one-time thing. There's a maintenance that goes into this. Can you tell us a little bit more about that for somebody who's considering this healing method, that it's not just this one-time visit.
Yeah.
What can they expect if they are ready to immerse in this particular practice?
Yeah, this is a really good question. And I always say that this work doesn't end where my table ends. It really teaches you how to live, you know, in a bigger scheme. It teaches you how to drink water properly, how to eat properly, how to sleep properly, and then how to walk properly, because everything has to be balanced out. And I always say this, like, I can't fix anybody, you know, that's not my job.
Right, they have to do the work.
Yeah, I can help somebody to improve, to get faster result if they're doing the work themselves. And then another way to think of that is like, you don't become a master by doing yoga once, right? It's a kind of like a life pattern or life way of living. So, and then I always also recommend my clients to do Qigong on a regular basis if they can. And because once they're more in tune with the energy, and they can actually start to clear out a lot of energy by themselves. So when they come to me, I can go deeper.
Right.
Another way to explain this is like it's peeling off the onions. So the more you can peel it off, the deeper we can go. So the stuff like ancestral trauma and all that stuff, and then the stuff that happened before our membrane even forms, these things are really deep. You know, you don't really get there through few sessions. So it takes a little bit of work. And also we're talking about two bodies of energy. So, you know, we have to trust each other. We have to get to know each other.
There's your energy.
Exactly.
And then
my client's energy.
Your client's energy.
Right. And it's like a relationship. If you wanted to go deeper, you gotta have to take some time. And also, when I see my clients, I ask a lot of questions. You know, I ask what you eat, you know, how do you sleep? And then by listening to these cues, I'll figure out the deeper patterns of your life. And then the more I get to know my clients, the more I can help them. And I can see the patterns they might not see for themselves. For example, if somebody always talk about things with very negative patterns or emotions, and they might not aware of that, and then I can point that out. And then also just to, you know, listen for details, like what do you eat after the session, you know, like we had this conversation. It brings out a lot of unconscious patterns in people, and these things take time for anyone to observe.
Now, let's kind of paint the picture for someone who they've made an appointment with you. Walk us through that step and process. Do they just show up and you're like, hey, lay down? How would you get your client to feel comfortable? What's the setup? How do you start the process? So walk us through the beginning, the middle, and the end. Because this is pretty exciting, and I feel like for our audience, this is not something that a lot of people know about. And then I remember you sharing with us how this is an ancient practice that goes back. You know, and so thousands of years. And in your culture, people associate gut health
very much
with mental health as well, and sexual health as well.
Yes, for sure.
So really paint that picture. Tell us the beginning, the middle, and the end, and what they can expect if they came for a session.
Yes. So for the first time session, they come in and I'll do an intake form. And then I just wanted to get sort of like overall pictures of where they are physically, mentally, and spiritually. And then actually, it depends on how open each person's are. And then a lot of things actually happens not verbally. Like I sort of do a lot of tune in. And then if they're not willing to talk much, like some people are just naturally really shy. They don't want to.
Sometimes.
You're actually pretty good. You're good. Some people, especially men, even though they need help, they don't verbally voice that. So, and then you can just feel there's a tension in their body. So for me, the first thing to do is to actually make them feel comfortable and safe. And then some people, they're willing to speak and they're willing to open up faster, so we will get to a little bit of more meaty situation. And then again, a lot of work really happens to, it's not to hear what they say, it's to hear what they don't say and hear about how they say it.
That's real good.
Yeah, and then it's like how they speak. It's also a very good indication. Like, do they speak too fast? Do they breathe too shallow? All these things. I don't tell them what's going on, but that's what I'm watching.
Now you're making me nervous.
No, don't be nervous. Just be yourself. And then you just get on the table. And then, actually it's a very meditative practice for me. So the minute they get on the table, I start meditating. And then the whole practice, you've had it. It feels like a massage, right? But there's a lot going on. So I'll tune in above to really pull what they need. And then, in a way, the easiest way to say it, to describe it, is just to, again, just feel where the tensions are in the body, right? Just to feel, you can feel it. Like, is that the lungs? Is that you can feel the grief in the lung? You can feel the fear in the kidney, and you just help to loosen that up. At the end of the day, that's what it is. But because we practice Qigong and we have this spiritual sort of thread also in the practice, so you go in, you actually can tune in. You can tune into the emotion. You can push them out. So that's what's happening. It's not just a simple massage. There's a lot of tune in. Remember, I was like, okay, this feels like grief. And I start coughing at one point in the session, and it was in one area. And the minute I went out of this area, everything just went away.
Right.
I'm sorry. I just mentioned
something
detail for you. I hope it's okay.
Yeah.
So we have this very acute. I've learned to really tune into really acute details of how everybody react to certain things. Not react, but how they, like, I watch people's face very intensely when I'm doing it. If they start tensing up, I back off. And when they start relax, I can go in. There's a lot happening. It's like, sometimes I really think that is like dancing with somebody's belly. You just feel it. Like, you go in softer if you want to go in deeper. You can always go deep if you go soft. And then, but where's the edge? And like, how much do you push? Because you don't want to push it all the way that it hurts, but you want it to be sort of on the edge of it.
The way I can try to describe it for some people is like if you're trying to knead dough. Yeah, so think of just a bulk of dough and just kind of pressing in and kneading it and smoothing it out.
Yes.
And that's kind of like what you do over
exactly.
the organs.
Because the stuff is all sort of
lodged in there.
Yes. And then you just want to spread them out. And that's the tension. That's the trauma, right? Because our body is like a lot of the times inside. And we take that for granted. That's our baseline. A lot of people, they've had sessions, and afterwards the feedback is like they didn't even know they can be so relaxed.
Right.
They didn't even know that they can feel this way in their body.
Absolutely. And I remember before we did the session, one thing you told me a few days before was make sure I don't have any tea or caffeine or eat anything, I think about 3 hours before you do it. And explain to us why that is super important.
Yeah, basically it's like a meditative experience. Yeah. So you don't want to have too much caffeine. You don't want to really have caffeine because you want to go deeper. Otherwise, you're just in your head and you're just constantly thinking about what's going on. And the empty stomach is just, when you have empty stomach, I can go deeper. That's it. It's all about going deeper and deeper. There was one more thing I wanted to add when you were talking about caffeine. And I can't remember. It'll come back to me.
Maybe it'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come back to me.
Yeah, so first you have the person on their back, and then you turn them over.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because first of all, so the majority of the work is in the abdominal. Yeah. But we do want to open the channel all over the body. Remember, I worked on your arm, in your armpit, where the lymphatic node is, and I worked on the bottom of your feet. Right. There's an energetic point to drain the energy out. So everything has to be opened. So whatever you release in the abdominal can have somewhere to go. Right. It's the same with the back. There are meridians, the energy channels in the back, and then you can actually access kidney a little better in the back. So that's why we flip you over. Okay. Just to keep opening up the channels of the body.
All right. Yeah. Now, some people might like the sound of that, flipped over. but yes, you do. And you've mentioned the word massage every now and then.
Yes.
Yeah, there is an aspect of that, but it's not simply a massage. Again, it's the idea is to kind of push the energy through and out the body as well.
Yes, you work with meridian a lot. So whenever when I work on somebody, I tune into where the blockages is. They call them the wind sometimes in Chinese medicine. It depends on how do you look at it. Basically, the blockage, you push it through the meridians out.
And how is this associated with sexual health?
So this work is based on Taoist tradition.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of actually spiritual principle behind this work. It's actually, the minute you do Chi Nei Tsang, you're going to talk about Taoist tradition really fast. So the idea is that, so when you talk about sex, is not just the physical act of the sex.
Right.
It's really the aesthetic feeling that we wanted to embody ourselves with.
Absolutely.
It's that eagerness to live. It's that aliveness that you can embody all the time. And then also that comes with a lot of the cultivation of the sexual energy, which really fast, if you come to see me, usually it comes out really, really quickly because it's just such a core energy in our life, in our being. And then also sexual energy is creative energy. It creates the next life. It's it's where the creative source is. So when you open sexual energy, you become more creative, you become a better creator. It's not just for better sex. Obviously it's a great benefit of it. So this work, right away, I teach my clients how to cultivate sexual energy, because the society really teaches us to learn how to just quick gratification. There's there's very little teaching about enjoying it, about sustaining it, about turning this into a higher realm of the energy. And this is what this is about, So there's a lot of the semen retention that is being educated. There's a lot of, there's this meditation called microcosmic breathing, which is bring the sexual energy back into your brain and then push it down through your front to nourishing all the organs. So instead of just waste it out, they call it drinking. You put it up to your body and you're nourishing all the organs. So the idea is that as a human being, we are spirit, live in an animal body. So our animal body has very few interests. It just wants to eat and
sleep.
And not even that. That's just we have to. They want to eat, have sex, and make babies and die. Like they don't. There's not much of desire of like spiritual enlightenment, or there isn't that much of interest. It's very carnal. But as a spiritual being, we want that. We want a connection to divine. We want a rich godhood. However you name it. So we have to work with this energy in our body instead of let it control us. So you wanted to have control of your sexual energy and use that for creative process, use that for vitality, use that for regenerating your cells and repair yourself. It's an incredible body of energy that we contain. And by opening the channels in your abdominal area, in your sexual organs, all these energies are now yours to use. So we're not being controlled by these energies. We learn to control and cultivate these energies.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned creativity, because this is something you're so tapped into. Not only are you a healer using this particular method, but you create some beautiful art.
Thank you.
And so that's what we see in front of us. You have 2 sculpture pieces, beautifully done. Can you tell us a little bit about the importance of your creative work and how it blends in with Chi Nei Tsang?
I love your question. I really do. So my background is actually art. I started painting and making sculptures in my teens, and that's my adult life. You know? So that's what I've been doing for as long as I can remember, basically. and then I came into spiritual work about 10, 12 years ago. And then when I first started, it wasn't really, I didn't want it to be a healer. That was not my intention.
Yeah.
I just started for myself, out of my own spiritual quest and curiosity and eager or desire to connect. And then just one thing led to another. So along the way, basically, I started to do a lot of healing practices, again, just for my own well-being. And then so I started to work within the healing community. I call myself a closet healer. Like I didn't come out because it just wasn't something I thought was my intention. I just do it. But the more I do it, the more I realize what I could do. I realized that I can really land something in the space. I saw what I was able to do. And then somewhere there, I started to do Chi New Tsang. And then one of my teacher, she is just so supportive. And she kept telling me that you need to do this. You need to work as a healer. You have a connection. And then I remember I was still resisting it because I'm like, I'm an artist. I don't know how to do this, like this whole label, this whole title thing. Really, just I wasn't sure how to, how to handle it. And then she actually said this to me. She had a whole conversation with me. She said it's called healing art. You get to create, you get to explore, you get to do everything that you do in art. And something just like went off. It's like a light bulb. I was like, okay then.
Yeah, and here we are.
Yeah. It's very similar energy in some regard in terms of the exploration, the creativity,
right?
And then the vision. I think that's the thing that really I can really feel the benefit of it. Because when you make art, it's just about vision, right? Like what you see. So, and then I talked a little bit about that in terms of healing work. Is that when you tune into someone, you can feel what is the blueprint, what is the best vision of this person, and you tune into that, and it's like sculpting. It's like, okay, it shouldn't be that heavy over there. You push that away, so you balance it out. It's really like making sculpture. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, and with you saying that, it reminded me of my experience with our session, and one thing you said was you care for the people that's on your table.
Yeah.
You have a tenderness for them. And so I want to leave off with that to let our audience know that if they approach you for service, they won't be disappointed.
Oh, thank you.
Trust, you are in good hands. She is a gentle spirit. She is a caring spirit as well. And I love how for you are an artist and you treat your clients and your patients through this process of creativity as well. Now, I know we can talk forever, but we do have to wrap it up here. And if you want to connect with Xu, if you want to learn a little bit more about her modality, check the information below. It's there for you to click and link with her. And trust me, like I said, you will not be disappointed. So make sure you check that information out, her website out, including her artwork. So this is where I tell you, you know what to do. Click on the subscribe button, and definitely don't forget to also click on her link. I am so happy to have you here with us, and it's just been a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And just thank you for being here and just sharing your gift.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yay.
Okay, perfect.